Okay. So some wins for the week. Let's hear them.
I redeemed myself with some tricky sellers.
Awesome.
They sent me a lovely email the other day saying they regret using me. Um,
Ouch.
seeing that I've done nothing for their property, and so I sent them a lovely itemized list of everything I've put into play with their listing, and they're like, oh, we didn't realize a lot of it, like a lot of the stuff you've done. So
Right.
I said, there hasn't been much movement, which is why, that you haven't necessarily gotten a lot of updates. But it doesn't mean that I've just put a sign in your yard and I'm not looking after your house. So
Yep.
it was a good learning,
Good job. What
educating
did you
moment
learn from that?
that people suck. No.
Yes.
Um, it just I need to do better with my communication.
Yep.
And also set the precedents early on to say like what works for you, what would you like, if there's no movement on anything, like do you want me to be checking in with you weekly? Do you want me to touch base with you even when there's nothing? Or are you just kind of the people who want to know when something happens? So it's a learning experience for me.
Yeah, it's definitely I'm like that too. Like I just do everything and don't think to tell anyone, but I do
Yeah.
have it in my calendar now to update people weekly because it is important. Even if there's nothing happening,
Yeah.
here's what's happening. Here's what's happening in the area.
Yeah.
Just
Well, and that's what actually kind of bit me in the butt was I sent them like a here's what is happening in the area. Here's what is going on with the comparables and everything. And they were like, well, clearly you're not getting the house out. And I said, okay, actually I am, but it opens it up to another can of worms. We have already talked about it. We've already talked about price reducing and all the fun stuff. So yeah, I think like I was actually gonna message you the other day to be like, Courtney, if nothing is happening, like, I was like at the point, like, and I gave myself 24 hours to respond to the email because I was like,
good.
I need to not rage response because
Yep.
that's not going to be good for anybody. But I also wanted to take a breather and say, like, you know, do they want me to message them when I go to the bathroom as well? Like that was kind of the
Yep.
mindset I was in. Like I'm doing all these ABCs.
Mhm.
What are we, do you need to know that like uh, I door knocked today, like all the activities that we do, right? So I was like, okay, maybe I do need to write those out and like send them
Yep.
an email. So
So we have a template now that just goes out once a week and you just fill in the blanks. Like we've had this many views, this many showings. This is what's happened in the area. This is what I've done. Here's my feedback, whether it be a price drop or what we should do and my
that's
suggestions to get there. So
that's a good idea. So template.
yeah,
Yeah, perfect.
it's in our follow-up, boss. So
Okay, perfect.
okay. Any other wins for the week? Come on, guys. I need at least three. Unmute yourself. Oh, there you go.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
Ooh. Okay, I'm doing up an offer right now on a property in Forest.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm just in middle of waiting for them to come back with the side.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Hope that goes well. Cross your fingers.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else?
I've got a closing today and I had,
Yay.
thank you. I had lunch yesterday with an old client. It's, I'm finding nicer than a pop by because it's scheduled. So, you know, they're going to be there. They're super unhappy with where they've moved to. So we might have another opportunity to buy with them.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, so keeping busy working on the phones, getting some, negatives, don't call me, take me off the list,
Yep.
the odd threat. And but for the most part, everyone's been really receptive.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Good. Anyone else?
I've
I
got
have, oh,
216, sorry.
go ahead, Pam.
I've got 216 Kathleen coming soon on a week from today, so next Friday.
Awesome.
I firmed up on a property this week and have a couple offers going in today. So
Amazing.
there's a few things going on.
All right, let's keep it going. Nicole and Rebecca, you got to have something.
No, I unfortunately no wins on my front this week, not work-wise at least. So,
Hey, that's okay. Personally, what do you got?
um, I don't know. I got to think about that a little bit. It's been a quiet week and I'm okay with that, but yeah, our pool
There's
is
your win.
open and it's
There you go.
beautiful.
You
And my
got some
kids have been swimming,
relaxation and a
so
pool open. That's a
we're
win.
kind of in summer mode already here. So
Perfect. Good stuff. All right, Nicole, give me a win.
Well, so personally, the store has been really busy. So
Good.
that's been good for me. And I started the contest here this week. So giving out a prize by collecting phone numbers and emails for my
Amazing.
customers. So my store's getting more full.
So we're building up your SOI. Good job. Smart move. Okay. All right. So today's training is on clarity, if you read my post this morning. And this is why we have the pen and paper, because it's really important when you're trying to be clear about your goals and clear about your aspirations to have it written to penned paper. Even training, or if you're reading books that are training, or if you do a training, they say to actually redo it 3 times before it even sinks in. So if you remember ever getting detention and having to write lines, that's why you had to do it time and time again, so it would sink into your brain. So this is kind of what we're going to talk about today. So pen to paper is very important. Just going to share my screen here. Can everyone see this? So the key to reaching your goals as a realtor, 62% of real estate professionals are feeling very overwhelmed with the competing priorities that we have in a day, right? So it's really, oops, I don't know why my view's like this. Oh, now I'm really making a mess here, sorry. I don't know how I do this. Okay, I'm just gonna move you guys over here. Okay, so 62% of realtors are overwhelmed by competing priorities, which means we just have multiple things on the go at all times. To create a clear vision will increase your success up to 40%. So strategically being clear is going to lead you to better client relationships, increase profitability, but it's also just going to help your brain function better at the end of the day. So when we're going through this, really think about your goals, your priorities, and then we're going to align them up as we need to. So that being said, we're in a fast-paced industry. So who feels like you're constantly being pulled in all different ways, all different things that we need to do, right? Like, what is it that you feel you're being pulled to all the time? What are some things?
Like carving out the time to make the calls.
Yep.
Text messages and calls from clients,
Yep.
asking about properties or showings.
Yep.
Being properly prepared for like impromptu showings. I know we have time to prepare all week for an open house and figure out the taxes and the school district and stuff, but sometimes you just get a call.
Yep. Yep. So we're always trying to juggle multiple different things for our industry, right? We're doing an offer. We got to get the paperwork in. We got to get marketing done for the open house. We got to do this. We got to do that, right? So what are you doing to kind of keep that a clear? Do you write down a to-do list? Do you have reminders in your calendar? If you're doing calls, do you have that plugged into your calendar? So what are some tricks that you guys are working with?
Yeah, definitely the calendar. I'm trying to honestly build trust with the calendar because I've missed a couple things and I get confused whether that was not deleted or, yeah. So plugging it in the calendar and sticking to the calendar.
Yeah, very important. Who feels like you're scatterbrained right now?
Every damn day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all do, right? Like every day you're starting again. You're starting again. You're like, what did I not do yesterday? What can I do today? So because we're such a fast-paced industry, we have to remind ourselves what the actual priorities are in a day. We have a work-life struggle balance all the time. We have clients. We're now in what's busy season is still the slowest season because our industry is just slow right now. But that's what your competing priorities are. And we got to figure that out and provide clarity to ourselves in order to do better with that. So that being said, I want you to write down your ideal client. Okay. This is what they call your avatar. This is who you want to work with and make it a clear picture. So write it down who that would be age-wise, demographically, income, location, family status, maybe they're first-time home buyers, maybe they're investors. So write that down. Draw a picture if you want to. I'm not creative that way, but I can write down exactly what I'm looking for. If you're looking in the commercial side, what are they looking for? What are their dreams? What are their fears? What's driving their decision? If you create your ideal clientele and focus strictly on that, it's going to be so much easier when you're speaking their language, right? And I don't mean literally their language. I mean, you're tailoring your communication to that specific type of demographic. So if you're consumer or first-time home buyers, you're going to have the go-to for first-time home buyers. You're going to have that conversation much easier because you know exactly what they're doing, what the game plan is, what the roadmap looks like, and how you're going to help them get from B to B. If you're working with investors, it's an easy call the minute a great investment property comes up and call them and say, hey, I just found another one for you, check it out. Right? You're going to create how you're going to run your business much smoother when you have an avatar. You market towards those types of people, educate those types of people, and really dive into what that is. Okay. So with the clarity, I'm just going back to this. We want to make it purposeful. We want clear direction and clear priority. So now I have to write down all your competing priorities, whether it be life, family, money, work, how to make money, paperwork. Write all those different things down. All the priorities you can think of in a day that you have to deal with. How many of your kids you got to deal with in a day?
How many have kids? What?
You have to deal with in a day. Yep. How many of you stress about money in a day?
I have to think way too much about food. And
That's my
whether
go-to.
there's enough food in the house when it gets made, cleaning up after the food. Oh, if there was no food, I would have so much free time.
There you go.
I need a chef.
I actually just started having my meals made again. So I picked them up on Monday nights.
Ooh.
And they're usually like just like extra meals for like lunch or something. Because I actually love to cook. So I cook every night too. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so nice.
Okay, so is everyone's priority written down? Competing priorities? Now, how many of those priorities could you potentially get help with and take off your plate? I want you to write a star beside the ones you could get help with. Could you possibly not be the person who has to pick up your kid? Could you possibly not be the person who has to take care of your parent? Could you possibly not be the one that cooks dinner tonight? Could you possibly be the one who doesn't deal with the paperwork? So remove
Does
some.
anyone have help with their social media?
Yes, yes, our team
Yeah.
does. Yeah, the thing with that is, like we have multiple assistants and on our team, so we do have one specific person that does the social media for people who don't want to, but it's still very important to be very active on your social media. So we basically do posts to keep people active on social media, but you need to get your on there for sure. Yeah. Okay, so now that we have all the competing priorities, now I want you to circle or number. What are your top 3 priorities? Okay, let's share our top 3 priorities. Let's go first.
I need to, I'm not on. Okay. I need to work on connecting more with people from my past clients and everybody. Like I don't connect in a day. I don't make an effort to be in a situation where I can connect.
So is that your priority?
That's one of my 3, yes.
Okay. What are your other 2?
Keeping up with social media.
Okay.
I'm terrible with that, and making the calls. Those
Okay.
are my 3 that I don't do and I should do.
Okay. Who else wants to share their 3?
I'd like to get better at making appointments with clients. My number 2 is cold calls. And my number 3 is just organizing my schedule so that it's more streamlined.
Okay. Who else?
I'll go. I went kind of the other side. So like my top 3 priorities not within work.
Yep.
Mine are like my health.
Yep.
So physical, mental health is number 1 priority.
Yeah.
And then money and then family, because if you have your health and your mental health and a little bit of stability with financing, then in my mind, then you can have that like better family work-life balance, right? Like you're able to do those things. So
Yep.
it's a little backwards in the priority list to not
That
put
is
family
not backwards
first,
at all.
but that's my thoughts.
I can almost guarantee you mine in China is probably also the same thing.
Yeah.
It's very important. Mental health is always my number 1. I just went back to the gym this year because my body was getting old. So that is a priority to me. My mind is a priority to me. And my family, for sure. Like those are number 1. Then it's work. We all need money. So of course that's got to be in there. But to get to those things, there's other things you have to do. You just got to
Yeah.
learn where your priorities are. Anyone else want to share? Okay. So now we're going to write down what we want to achieve. Right? What do we want to achieve? Whether it be a financial goal, how many transactions, maybe it's our health that we're changing this year and it's not the focus on work. So number 1, write down Number one, what you want to achieve. Come back to me, Angie. Come back to me.
You know,
This is where you lose your focus. It's going to take you 23 minutes to get you back now. Okay, so what do you want to achieve? How do you want to accomplish it? If this is your goal, what are you truly going to do to accomplish that goal? What actions are you going to take? And how are you going to measure it? And write that all down. Write down the actions you're going to take to achieve your goal in order to accomplish it. Anyone want to share some actions they're going to take to achieve their goal?
am I on? Wait. Okay, I'm first connecting. I'm gonna make effort to get in places where I can meet with people. And go back over my past people that I've dealt with and find ways to connect, whether it's a text, an email, a call, something. I have to make an effort every day to connect with people.
Do you feel you could just be following your follow-up boss?
Yeah, okay, yeah, I guess I could go that route. I still need to make connection with people that aren't on there. But I guess I could put them in there too as people that I know, right? I don't know.
Anyone's thought on follow-up boss? Or anyone else?
Yeah, I think you can add everyone you know as like your sphere of influence. As far as your past clients, you could schedule and put in your calendar to do pop buys. Once you organize your follow-up boss to see like who's a past client when they moved in, it will be able to generate for you, you know, they moved in half a year ago or a year ago. And you know, if you do seasonal pop buys, that's a good time to review your list.
So what are some actions Angie could take to get in contact with her sphere?
Well, I know this week, one thing I'm gonna be doing, I'm gonna be visiting 8 of my past clients.
Perfect.
With updated CMAs on the properties that they purchased from me.
Perfect.
Giving them a reason to welcome me in and for us to have a discussion about real estate.
Nice.
Perfect. Anyone else got actionable items they're going to do to achieve their goal this week?
I'm gonna be calling the tenant lead pond this week because I am a few deals short of Icon. So I think I have my sales quota for buyers of homes, and now I think I just need a lease. So I'll be calling lease ponds soon.
All right. So actionable items, Angie, I would go through your SOI call list. That's already made there for you to make it simple, easy. So just go through
Really
that
helpful.
daily.
Like we get so pulled in every direction, as we were saying. And before I had everybody in FUB, I would think to myself while I was doing something else, oh, I have to call so and so. And then I'd forget and I'd forget. And before you know it, you haven't called them and they've sold or bought with somebody else. So having follow up Boston, utilizing all the tools on there, it's like impossible to forget to call them. And even if you're using your phone to call somebody, if that's the number they recognize and they wouldn't pick up if you called from your FUB number, you can still log that in there so that it reminds you which people you haven't talked to in a couple weeks and which ones you have. So it's just game changer for remembering to reach out to your sphere. So highly recommend everybody put all of their SOI in there and keep track of who you're calling, because we just don't have the capacity in this job to be making mental notes of who to call. It's just, you'll drop the ball 100%. Doesn't matter who you are. We just have way too much on the go. So it is life changing.
And that's again, creating clear, purposeful driven actions, right? Like that's why we have databases. That's what they're there for. And it's to help make our jobs easier.
Yep. And it's just getting into the habit of utilizing it, and the habit of time blocking, and the habit of updating it as you go. I was forgetting to use it for the longest time because I was in the habit of putting everything into my iCalendar, but I wasn't putting it into FUB. And now I just automatically put it into FUB. The second somebody texts and wants to see a house, I'm putting it in there. And it's making it convenient for me because when you link that to your iCalendar or your Google Calendar and you have the address in there, then everything's organized. If you're doing multiple showings for driving from property to property, the address is in there. So it's easier for me as well, logistically, and it organizes your calendar when you're looking back at your week.
Yeah, it's really important, especially, like our team expectation is having 12,000 points. So the minute you put an appointment in there, that's 500 points right off the hop, right? So it is, if you utilize that, you're going to keep everything organized. Plus those are touch points for your clients. So they're going to drop off your daily list of who you need to contact as well. So databases are huge. I wish someone taught me that in the beginning of my career, because it would have been life-changing for sure. So any other
I mean, Kiki's a great example of how much it's changer for your business.
Yeah.
Obviously, Kiki's been putting in all the work, doing the calls and everything, all the training. But when she did the training and put everything into FUB, all of her sphere of influence, look at her business. She's absolutely crushing it, and not only double or tripling her business from last year, she's just already blown it out of the park. And that just shows everything's organized. She's always organized about her business, her showing. She's prepared. And then she can go through and see who she hasn't talked to and which leads need to be called. And now she sees all her business coming around after putting in the work last year.
Right.
Yeah, and it's a lot of work. When I'm not calling, I find at night, I feel it's inappropriate to call after a certain time. Especially if it's your first call. So that's the hours that I spend, just reviewing the FUB, who to call. I watched something on a reel or whatever the other day about FUB, and basically they said, and I'm gonna do it this weekend, is turn your call list upside down. So call the people that are oldest. And I think that's gonna have some interesting results.
Yeah.
And my other comment to the FUB, when you make the appointments through FUB, you look like uber professional when they get a text 30 minutes before. Just a quick
Right.
reminder, we're meeting at this address. And it's like, wow, I never would have self-initiated
And
that
people
text.
find it so helpful, especially the people from out of town, right?
Yeah.
Because they're putting it into a GPS. So, like you said, it makes it professional. When you can make their lives easier, then you are showing your value to them.
Yeah. But I think past me, I would show up at the property, give them 10 minutes of more lateness, and then search for their number. And then, and they'd be like, oh, I thought that was tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So it just eliminates all that.
Okay, so think about your actionable items. We'll come back to it at the end of this as well, and just really see how you're going to put your business into play, right? Another thing that we have to clarify is what UVP, what unique value are you bringing to people as well? So how are you standing out at a listing appointment, a buyer's appointment? Maybe you're at an open house. What makes you different than any other agent that they are meeting? So give me some UVP that's going to make you distinctive.
I think my biggest UVP is saying, it looks like on paper you're just dealing with me, but in reality, the power of the team.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone else?
It would think that this is a little more common, but I always feel that I show value when I am strong in negotiations and representing my client's best interest. So thinking ahead to avoid problems opposed to dealing with them afterwards. I feel like I've had a lot of people see value in my representation that way, opposed to just going with what they've requested and not pointing certain things or concerns out that could happen. They seek us for professional advice in the same way if they're going through legal action and choosing a lawyer to represent them. A lawyer's job is to represent their best interests and try avoid whatever the issue is. That's the same when they hire representation in real estate. Unfortunately, it just doesn't seem as common anymore. Realtors are just putting everything on paper for what the client asks, but they don't know what to ask or what they can ask or what they can do to protect themselves. So when we're proactive in doing that, I always find that the clients are really impressed.
Yeah, I agree.
Mhm.
Anyone else want to share a UVP?
I always tell people like I'm kind of the same as China. Like I proactively educate my clients of like what possibly could come up. But then I also say like we could sit here all day and say like what if, what if, what if, what if, and we're like, let's take it as it comes up. But I'm also here every step of the way with you, and you're not gonna make a decision like willy-nilly. Like we're gonna talk it through. We're gonna give ourselves enough time. Like these are the outcomes of this. And we always like I always sit down with my clients and educate them that way. But I also like my unique value is that I'm like I am who I am. I am authentically who I am and I don't show up like I do, I dress nice, I dress the part, I look professional, but I'm also like in my Birkenstocks and like wearing comfy clothes because that's how I feel the best for myself. And I mean, I would like to look nicer and I would like to come all dressed to the nines, but then I'm going to be focusing on like my blazer, not comfort, and like my uncomfiness as opposed to like what is really important.
So you
So
are truly authentic self. Yeah.
exactly. So that's kind of what I think my unique value is because I'm never going to show up as somebody who I'm not.
Yep.
And
And you're going to
that's
attract those kind of clients, and that's how it is.
exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. Nobody's ever had a problem. They're like, oh my God, yes, girl. Like, be comfy. Wear your Blundstones. Like, we're trekking through the mud here. You're
Yep.
fine. I'm like, okay.
All right. Angie, what's a UVP that you have during your presentations?
I care, I guess, like people say I'm approachable,
Okay.
that I care.
Yeah.
But I don't really know what else to say.
Okay. Okay. Panos?
I always find I do well with the immigrants.
Yeah, fair.
I come from a Greek background.
Yep.
With first generation Canadian. I'm a first generation Canadian, so my parents were immigrants.
Yep.
And the immigrants tend to relate to me.
Perfect.
We have a similar way of thinking.
Yep, makes sense. Rebecca, what's your UVP?
I've been thinking a lot about like, I know this is controversial to say, but I really like working with buyers. I don't love listings. I've done a number of listings now, and the deals I enjoy are the buyer deals. And we moved to the area from the city 4 years ago. And so that's kind of part of what I've honed in my social media approach is just like, I did this move. This is a popular area for city people to move to. So I just walked through it. Maybe I can help you walk through it. So just trying to relate to people, to buyers, especially that are, leaving the city, maybe not specifically for Prince Edward County, but sort of that country life, that change from city to country and
Yep.
what that looks like and helping them walk through that. And that's my ideal person.
And what makes you stand out as an agent compared to other agents?
I think just having had that experience, right? If somebody's like understanding that you're moving from city water and now you're going to be on a well, what does that mean for your life? Not everybody understands both sides of that, having lived through both sides of it. And so just being able to walk that journey with people.
Yep, that's great.
And those have been sort of my most enjoyable experiences.
Yep. All right. Nicole, what's your UVP? Are you frozen? Oh, there we go.
I would say probably like more client, like trust with them, just because I think with the business, that's what I'm kind of based on here, is like having a good relationship with them and just kind of being, I don't know, like kind of, because I know how important they are and I can appreciate that. I feel like maybe they can trust me more, kind of thing. I don't know.
Okay. So UVP, definitely write that down and analyze that yourself. Think of, this is for everyone. Think of how you stand out. Every time you meet a client, it is basically a job interview. And why should they hire you over the next agent? What do you bring that is going to be significantly different than the other agent they're interviewing? And that's very important to set you apart, especially in a challenging market right now. Okay, so analyze that later on as well. We're in such a challenging market that it is taking 20 to 50% more effort this year to get the same amount of deals we did last year. And now if you didn't do any deals last year, then it's even worse, right? Last year was a pretty rough year as well, but this year is even worse. And 2026 is going to be even worse. So we need to prepare. We need to be really good at our UVP and really good at our follow-ups. Because like all, only 10% of agents are going to make money. But we had 120,000 agents come into the industry during COVID because it was easy to throw spaghetti at walls and make a bunch of deals. 90,000 of them got out when it went back to normal market. Right? 74% of agents didn't even sell a house last year. So we are very much in a difficult, I don't want to say difficult. We're back to a normal market, but you have to do the work. Nothing is falling in your lap. And if it does, that's awesome for you. But that is super rare. You have to put way more effort in this year. Right? So if you're only putting a little bit of effort, if you're only doing a little bit, you're not actually creating purposeful, driven with clarity. You really need to create that competitive edge against other realtors. So this is
sorry, Court. I want to say as well, like when there are different levels of what success is as well, right? So
always
like all of these are great points and they can still be put into play if you don't want that like hustle culture. You don't want, to do 100+ deals a year. Like it's okay if you are scaled back a bit and it like these activities are still so important to like make sure you have your UVP and everything like that, even if you're okay and your success is only 5 to 10 deals for the right?
Yep. In our, like we do our business plan once a year and every single person on our team has a different goal for success, right? Like we said, sometimes it's our mental health and our family. Sometimes it's 5 to 10 deals. Sometimes it's 100 deals, right? So we break that down. I have some agents here that want to do 10 deals and I have some agents that want to do 50. Everyone's going to be different, but no matter what the goal is, to get to the goal, even if you did those numbers last year, because the market's slower this year, you still need to produce that much more effort, unfortunately.
Yeah, perfect.
3 times as much follow-up now. Like Rebecca said, listings kind of suck this year, so we don't love doing them. We have to follow up that much more because people are anxious. They think it's still COVID market and it should be flying off the handle, right? We have most houses are sitting 60, 90 days before they're even seeing anything. It's very important to make sure that we're doing all that extra now. Okay? Communicating with purpose and clarity. As we discussed at the beginning with Jenny, like really clarifying to people, what are your expectations? Do you want me to call you once a week? Do you want me to call you every day? Do you want me to call you after every showing? That's also going to depend on what kind of personality it is. And of course, we've done personality training too. Someone like me, I don't want to hear from you until you have an offer. I don't care. Right? Then we get our anxious people that want to hear from you every single showing. I have one messaging me right now, asking what to do again for the 10th time this week. Right? Rule of 3, as we said, when you write things down, people aren't remembering anything until you tell it to them 3 times. Some of them not even 3 times. You need like a lot more than that. So keep that in mind. Even though we created that clarity in the beginning, I'm reminding them again. Just like we discussed, unfortunately, your home is going to be sitting for at least 60 to 90 days before we see anything. And it has been 7. Therefore, I don't really have any other expectations at this time. And we're going to keep working through this, right? Just giving them a little ego boost. Everything's okay. Simplicity, remove the jargon and the complexities from all the legal jargons in our conversations because people don't understand them, right? Just be clear and to the point.
I also want to add, like Angie didn't really know what to save for her value, but I think for so many people, it's such an emotional process that if you are a people person and you're really good with making people feel good and enjoy the process of buying or selling, that is a whole lot of value. Obviously, you need to put in the work to be able to handle the deal start to finish because it's so hard in this market. You're going to have like 1,000 hurdles to jump through to get something start to finish. But I can personally tell you, as somebody who's not great with people, sometimes I lose deals because they just don't, they don't like me, and that's okay. I've learned that's okay. But like my husband and I have very different clientele because he is a people person and people just like being with him and they choose him because they like hanging out with him for 3 to 6 months while they find a house. I'm probably not that person to go to if that's who you're looking for in an agent, but people want to feel good. They want to like the process. And if it's stressful and they don't enjoy the process and they don't enjoy the agent they're working with, then they're going to find one that they do. And that's where people like Angie or maybe Nicole, like, yes, being genuine and it is part of that. But if you make the client feel good and they like you, and that's the value you bring, that actually holds a lot of weight. But obviously, just adding the training so that you can handle the deal start to finish and represent them well in the process. But I've learned that is such a huge skill to have, and it's something I'm constantly working on my own. Is like just talking to people and making them feel good and making them like me because I'm not for everybody, but trying to cater to what they're looking for and trying to figure out what they're looking for, right? So don't count that out as a value or a skill in this business because it actually does hold a lot of weight.
The other thing too, like Jenny mentioned at the beginning, right? Really be accountable for yourself too, and where something went wrong, figure out how you could fix it because that's growth.
Yep.
There's tons of growth opportunities when you don't get a listing or you lost a buyer or your presentation didn't go well. Where can you learn to change it for the next time?
We
Right.
wanna blame other people. We want to blame that the client was, rude or difficult, or we want to blame another agent for stealing the client, maybe unethically. But you can take all that into account, but also remember that you did go wrong somewhere. If the client didn't want to work with you, you went wrong somewhere. And yes, sometimes personalities don't mesh, but if you want to do more business, you have to see where you can serve that client better. For me, that is majority of where I went wrong, except for a few really hard learning lessons. But majority of where I personally go wrong is the peopling. Like I'm so straight to the point, numbers focused, investment focused. But you know what? Some people don't care about that. Some people want to just enjoy the process and hang out and have fun together. That's not me. I'm not good at having fun.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like my appointments are 30 minutes max.
Yeah.
You're wasting my time after 30 minutes. I got things to do and I'm only plugging you in for that. Anything longer than that, you're just trying to hang out, right? So
Yeah.
we're professionals. We need to stay on the point and really do that.
That's hard to do.
30 minutes max.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're
I was gonna say Angie and I are like, we're there for afternoon coffee.
Yeah.
We're there for tea.
That's
We're
torture
chatting.
to me and Courtney.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
no.
my gosh, 30 minutes.
But that's also, you got to bring your professionalism back in,
Yeah.
right? You're
It's
there
the
for
balance between it all for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Like you're not going to your dentist or your doctor or your lawyer for an afternoon tea. You're going there for advice and what you need and you're out.
Yeah.
So
Because you want them to respect you too.
that's right.
Like you have to have that fine line of if they want a friend in the realtor, then you want to be a little more laid back and hang out and make them enjoy the process. But also if you're hanging out over beers all the time, then they're not going to respect your professional opinion
That's
when
right.
you have to be a little bit stronger, where if it's a seller and they're overpriced for or like if they think the property is worth more than it is and you try to tell them that it's not worth that, well, they've lost your respect
right.
because you're not acting like a professional. And now when you try to tell them their house is worth 100 grand less than what they think, that's a really hard conversation because you're not exactly showing a whole lot of professional value. So definitely is a balance and it's a struggle to balance it all.
Today I'm meeting the staff.
You're on mute.
Today I'm going to list that property on Vance. It's a lot. And I'm going to time myself for 30 minutes and see if I could do it. But I guess what the good thing about that is I know what I have to say and I time myself before I go. I would have an idea of what needs to be said because I drag it out with people and I don't accomplish the things I need to accomplish. But if
Yeah.
I have a set time,
Yeah.
maybe that's where my big problem is. I don't have a set time.
Also, if you follow the listing presentation and you just
Yeah.
put it in front of the seller, like we usually say, is try and take control of the appointment. When
Yep.
you have that presentation, and even if the client's steering the conversation away, just saying, "I'm just going to get through this presentation, and then we can talk about whatever you want to talk about." Then, if you are there longer than half an hour, at least the first half hour was
Yeah.
actually focused on business, right?
Yeah.
And then you can kind of do your hangout after at least, but making sure that the all the details get
Details in that
presented
30 minutes.
in a professional manner. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I do. I always go through my presentation. And then when we're sitting at that kitchen table, like I make sure that we've done the tour, we've done the presentation, everything is laid out. And then I go into like any questions. And then naturally, everybody just tells me their whole life story. So then we have a quick call, like, or we have like, a little chat. And then I do always try to be out like an hour. Like that's kind of my like, okay, like I've got another appointment. And I always, Angie, I always say like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like I would love to sit here and chat all day, but I am very busy. Like I've got to stick to my schedule and give
Yep.
everybody the same amount of time.
Yeah.
And then I always
interesting.
reel it back. I always say like, okay, so we've went over everything. Is there anything else you think I might need to know before I give you more information? And then like, I always joke like, I can come back for tea another time, but today is business. Like, and then that like eases them. So
And it
I'm
also shows them that you're a professional and you have other appointments that you
I
don't
have
do
like
all
the
day.
hybrid. Like
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't get it down to half an hour. And there has been some listing presentations that like the clients are just very much like, here's my house. Here, like, what can you do for me? And then I'm out and I'm in my car and I'm like, oh my God, that was half an hour. Like, what did I do wrong? Like,
Yeah.
they're not gonna go with me. And they do, but I'm like, oh my God, half an hour. Like, I just breezed through that. I don't like, was that fine? And then
Wow.
I'm a hybrid of
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah, it is very important to show your professionalism and keep control of the appointment, right? That's our job. We're here to be an advisor and we're not here to be there all afternoon. We want to make that. So top producers convey their UVP, their value proposition, in under 30 seconds. So what is the difference there? We want to be client focused and focused on what we're here to do as the advisor for their home, right? Stay consistent and align purposefully. Clarity, again, clarity of why you're there, stick to the point, keep it under control. So by keeping it under control, you're creating power and purpose-driven real estate. So you're going to create a meaningful partnership with your relationship that you're having the transaction with, whether you have a team culture, which we do, and value-aligned clients, right? You're going to attract those who appreciate your expertise, but do you look like the expert if you're spending all afternoon there having beers or drinking tea or whatever it is?
Yeah.
You're
Yep.
not going to look like an expert if you look like you don't have other appointments to go to, right?
That's true.
So shifting from closing deals to actually making a difference and staying impact-focused mindset. And that's the clarity aspect of it. Okay. I'm going to skip through some of these because we've gone through. So deep questioning yourself, right? So let's go back down and analyze priorities, the competing priorities. What are your top 3 priorities in a day? Can you truly focus on those? Can you get help with everything else? Or set them aside. Maybe they're not number 1 priorities. What are things that you can put in order to create that clear direction of where you want to go? Do you have an avatar of who you want to work with? Sorry, I'm just kind of skipping through these things. Creating systems that are going to help you. Always measure. If you don't have metrics, you don't know how to reach your goals, right? So if you know you have to do 10 calls to get 1 appointment, or you have to do 20 calls to get 3 appointments and maybe 1 deal out of it, you have to know those numbers. Clarity hits when you write it down, not on your computer, pen to paper. Actionable items and keeping yourself accountable. Keeping yourself accountable is like huge. If you are one of those people that can't keep yourself accountable and you are constantly blaming everything else surrounding you instead of doing the work to be different, you have to be able to be coachable and able to grow in order to reach your goals, right? And again, your goals could be 5 deals, they could be 100 deals. It doesn't matter. But if you are stuck somewhere and you want to do better, you have to be coachable to get there. Okay. So everyone tell me 1 action item you're putting into play this week.
I'm going to start working through my phone.
You're going to start calling on your pub?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Who else?
I really want to work on being more consistent with my social media. So I want to do like a huge, just time to sit down and plan it all and then schedule it so
Yep.
that I don't have to think about it on the daily
Perfect.
with my like target client in mind.
Your avatar. Yep. Perfect.
Yep.
All right. Nicole?
I think working on Fub more.
Okay. All right.
I have to
Andy
get
and Nicole, how many calls are you going to make on
that.
Fub this week?
How many calls am I going to make?
Yep.
I will try to go through my list, and I don't know an exact number, but try to at least, well,
12?
do some every day. 12 all week?
12 all week or 12 all day?
Oh, 12 a day. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Okay, I can try for that.
All right. Angie, Nicole, 12 a day?
Well, Ryan says I'm supposed to do 20 connections.
That's right.
So
Maybe it's part of your calls. Am I on mute? No. Maybe it's part of your guys' calls if you're still new to FUB. Maybe part of that can be putting them into FUB and then calling.
That's
So
right.
if you break that down to even 5 a day, it feels a lot less overwhelming. Just go through your phone and put all your contacts into there. And if you just even do 5 a day, you'll get through that pretty quick. Put them in FUB, call them. If you break down the task to be smaller each time, it feels way less overwhelming than
Yeah.
trying to put hundreds.
And just remember, like, as much as we say 12 calls a day, probably one of them might answer.
Yeah.
Is there a way if because I know like I have more emails than I do phone numbers. Can I like go through those ponds as some of mine to call, or do I have to
So ponds are available once you guys have
done
done the RISE program.
Oh, okay, done the training.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I may not have enough on my list to get very far, but I can try.
If you're doing your SOI, I can guarantee you have enough. So like your friends, your family, you should put them in there too, because you want to get referrals, right? That's the best kind of business because it's way warmer. And a lot of people forget that they should be in your database too. Like Kiki, for example, that was a huge part of, I think, where a lot of your business is coming from too, because she went through the course that we had last year or in the winter. And the very first step of that training was to put all your sphere in there. So, friends, family, people that come into your shop, people you used to work with. I get a ton of business from people I used to work with. If you put that in your sphere and call them, if you don't have their number, you have their email. If you don't have either and they're on your Facebook, message them on Facebook or Instagram. But when you're brand new, reminding people, hey, I just got into real estate. I'd love to really help you out if you know anybody buying or selling.
Yeah.
That's all you have to say.
Yeah. And we did that email for Nicole. And I think Panos, you did one too, just saying that you joined the team.
Yeah, I heard Panos' calls the other day to his entire sphere. That was awesome.
Great. Yeah.
And that
I
helps.
think I contacted about 600 people last week.
See, it's doable, totally.
Yeah.
And I mean, as soon as you join the industry or join our team, like we have you upload your SOI. So it's all there. It's just a matter of working through it. And you should add usually 5 people per day to it. So just getting in that habit as well. So.
And a lot of people like to help. Like
Yeah.
if you tell them, if you don't mind spreading the word, or if you know anybody that might be buying or selling, I would love it if you could help me out and recommend me. If you phrase it like that when you're calling, it's not a sales call anymore. It's like feels very personable, like they want to help you get started.
That's right.
Yeah, so when I started, I uploaded all my KMV port contacts, everything on my iPhone,
Yeah.
everything in my Sky Slope, everything in my auto email system, and all my different emails accounts that
Perfect. All right.
I had. It took a while, but I covered everybody that I know.
Yeah, good for you. It'll pay off.
Okay. Who else has an actionable item for this week?
That echoed. What did she say?
how's your phone?
Well, I'm going door knocking around my neighborhood where I live to introduce myself to the neighbors and let them know that I'm selling real estate.
Perfect.
How's did the shopping your skin?
Okay. Who else?
I am non-negotiable
Good.
for the next week, gonna get 10,000 steps a day.
Yeah, you are.
Because I am struggling. I'm in the car so much. We all are. We're all sitting. We're sitting right now at a computer. So, something that I'm really like shifting my focus is like I used to be able to get like 10 to 20,000 steps a day. I was so like moving, active. And now in this industry, it's so sedentary. So non-negotiable. I'm getting 10,000 steps every day next week. If I don't have the energy or not, then I'm only failing myself, and I'm gonna go walk on my treadmill if it's too late, and it's a non-negotiable.
All right,
Um,
10,000 steps. We got
One good
you.
way to get those steps in
yeah.
is to book a bunch of showings.
Well, I've been on some military home hunting tours this week.
There you go.
So yes, I've been in the car going to Trenton, but we saw 12 houses in one day. Like it's been a lot. But I still only got 6,000 steps. Like it's a lot harder than you think. So I was like, what the heck? I feel like I've been walking so much.
Door knocking,
Door
flyering.
knocking.
Yeah. So I have done that. I don't know. I guess I must not take little steps. Like I must like ride I don't know. Anyways, that's my non-negotiable.
Awesome. All right, who else? Kiki, what's your action plan this week?
Oh, always in the FUB, but it was interesting with today's call. One of the things I circled, I know on our team, the social media, most of it's taken care of, the paperwork, pretty much all of it's taken care of. But one of the items I circled was the house cleaning. So I think my actual item would be to try again, because I did this a couple months ago. Try and find a cleaner.
For your house?
Yeah, just take
I
that
have one.
off.
I have one.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, perfect.
Yep, she's looking for cash jobs, so I will
I'm cash
send
by.
her your way.
Yay,
That
that
is
was
like-
easy.
That was my number one hire.
Yep, makes such a big difference.
Yeah.
It does, yes.
Because there's a lot of not self-loathing, but you look around at the dust and it's like,
Yeah.
That was the least of my problems at my house,
And
but
every time I pay my cleaner, I'm like, I can't believe that's all it costs.
That's right.
Like, to take that much off my plate,
yeah,
I'll pay it again and again and again.
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you gotta decide that. You gotta know your hourly value and hire everything else out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question from Rebecca. She just texted me. She had to leave, but she wants to know, she said she struggles with calling the database, right? So um she wanted to know, like, do you find most people would prefer like texting or email, or like it's important to obviously get on the phone with these people, but if you're like not getting a hold of them or whatever, like do you guys have that implemented so that like it's a different touch point through text or email?
We do all three.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And then some big moves. She said, I've seen some big moves towards texting and communication for like what millennials want. Like nobody wants to pick up their phone anymore. So how are you handling that?
So it's also, again, the professionalism.
Yeah.
Right? Your doctor's not texting you.
Yeah.
And we are in a professional industry. Phone call is important. And
Yeah.
that proves your professionalism.
And for that situation, I'll often respect the client's wishes, but there are some things that are just not appropriate over text, like an offer presentation or writing an offer. If it's just a showing and the client prefers to text, then that might be appropriate, but there's some things that just should never be done over text. Doesn't matter if the client wants it or not.
Right.
I agree.
Cool.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Everyone have a great day. Thanks for staying a little later.
Thanks.
Bye.
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 So. Am I still on it?